And we are live. Hello, and this is Ninja DC. Joining you again for another react. Actually, react this time. As we react to the first episode of season 2 of Helluva Boss, because the last episode of season 1 is still not out. Maybe forever.
Oh, hell.
A boss. That's a hell of a time for a hell of a boss.
Mm-hmm. And we will never know what happened that night when Blitz went home in tears.
Yes.
But yeah, until that chaos is resolved, joining me for the react this time is through random Skype order, Second and Day.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's second day.
Hey there! Take a second to say hello.
Woo.
Second in his second day and her second.
Yes.
Or something.
Woo. That's so fun.
Hi. Let's do some hell of a bossing.
Yes. Next.
All right, next up, Carlos.
Hello there, this is Gun Middle Gator here, just to say I'm big, I have a belly, and I just wanted to tell you guys that, come all over to my stream, because we're going to be talking about nothing but big bellies, coming soon to a theater near you.
Shoo.
That sounds enticing.
All right, and then next up, Jenn.
I may be first. I may be last. I may have been witnessing the greatest marketing ploy I've ever heard with the big bellies thing, but I am first and always. Jenn. Hello, Internet. Hello, Jenn.
Shoo.
Yeah. And can't wait to watch Helluva Boss. Yes.
All right. And then, yeah, with that said, we're going to be skipping the what we've been up to and news this week, just to sort of get straight to react and discussion of the episode, because we're already sort of a little behind in the react to this episode, but it's all about the fun for these. And there really isn't much news besides the Batgirl cancellation drama and also Flash drama. And then
Great. See what you did, Snyder heads? Thanks.
DC's currently on fire, meanwhile Marvel is currently suffering from over fatigue.
Yeah, we've been worrying about that one for the last, what is it, since the first Avengers movie, I think, but how long can they keep this up? And meanwhile, they still have exactly, 2 rotten reviewed properties on Rotten Tomatoes, no bombs. I think we need to wake up and smell the coffee. That Marvel will run out of steam when it wants to run out of steam, and not a moment before.
It better not. If it can run out of steam after they put out Deadpool 3, that and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have to wait and see, just because it's even people said that before the movies, but now with the Disney Plus is the real big question of is that too much?
Yeah, and HBO Max is currently in the dumpster fire because Discovery is messing everything up, canceling all of that stuff. Yeah.
Which
Snyder heads, it's not nice to take advantage of studios with no common sense.
You sure about that?
But yeah, so there's not very much news, and also I guess there's a lot of roller coaster and theme park news, because it's sort of the beginning of fall going into next year, but not very much besides Dollywood's getting a new coaster and some just minor coaster improvements, stuff like that. Nothing really big yet, because everyone's still sort of broke from the pandemic, except Disney and Universal, who are building even more.
Yep. They found a way to stay balling.
Yeah.
All right, but I guess with the news, we'll start the react. We are live again. All right, this is the post episode discussion for season 2, episode 1 of Helluva Boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So yeah, we catch up with Stolas in the present day after a backstory, even dispelling most of the arm's length you might have had him at before. Okay, he's not a bad guy, he's not a cruel guy, but I mean, he is a debaucherous cheater, and now, like, even that is mostly, like, yeah, he really was not in circumstances where, like, most people would have done any better if there was a right decision, like a quote-unquote moral high ground to be on. It would have been to, never take that marriage in the first place, and you wonder if that was even considering it's some kind of powerful demon lord as your father calling it non-negotiable, you wonder if that's even physically possible. Basically, point being is, like, Stolas, if you had any doubt, Stolas is the victim in all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's also a nice little tidbit from this episode about the voice actor for, like, Stolas' father and also for Blitz's father. He's voiced by Jonathan Freeman.
Why does that sound so familiar?
Voiced by the same guy.
No.
Wow.
Fairly common first and last name.
Well, he's apparently the voice actor for one of the most popular movies in Disney.
Ooh.
Hey.
The villain of that is actually Jafar.
Oh.
What?
They got Jafar's voice actor.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
I thought his voice sounded familiar, but I
Yeah.
couldn't put a finger on.
Now it makes sense. Oh my gosh.
This is the equivalent of when the Steelers found possibly their best kicker ever at home unemployed. Because, they bothered to do their research on who had fallen through the cracks.
Wow. Oh man. Helluva Boss, they starting to reach like all kinds of status now, starting to get some of the good people. Starting to get some of the seasoned.
But
this.
all right. With that said, though,
we should have known that when they got Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
But with that said, what are your overall big picture thoughts in this episode?
Like how it ties into the larger point?
Yeah.
Okay, Stolas and Blitz, clearly have some real talk to do. I mean, we don't know what happened to Blitz in the actual season 1 finale, but presumably it was him that covered, because this is very much the catching up with Stolas episode after the fallout of the nightclub where,
Aussies?
At first it just seemed like, okay, the backstory episode, how all of this got started, and let's just do that, may as well be now sort of thing. But then it does kind of come back around to how, and as you can see, with that piece of the puzzle dropped into place, what just happened to Stolas, it's not just kind of me, it was,
Need me to throw that away? Need me to throw that
what
away?
would you call it? A little, probably devastating. It was like
I can do it if you need me to throw it away.
very rude awakening slap to him, okay, this one bit of pleasantry you're clinging to in your relationship circle is not exactly healthy. So now catching up in present day, he is singing his reflection song on how that is held up by a comfortable lie, and that it's finally time to say I can't do this anymore to his marriage, his quote unquote marriage.
What's
And
left of it, yeah.
yeah, I mean, granted, I don't know how much Helluva Boss wants to be the wisdom about relationships in the modern age kind of show. I mean, it does make this wife character just thoroughly unlikable and unsympathetic. We know nothing about her, and we're given no reason to believe that if we did, it would be anything that would make us take her side.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I've seen a couple of people talking about this episode and how this episode was like the last straw to break the camel's back on any Stella apologists.
I don't get that because, like, she's the one that's doing all of the stuff to make it happen. If she was just nice to Stolas, have been a good, like, sweet wife, I don't think they would have any problems.
I mean, I saw some of that too, but I mean, like let me put it this way: what would have fit up to now is if, like, this were just one of those toxic relationships where there are no true heroes and villains. Like Stolas, seemed to be a good dad, and as far as we saw, he was a better dad than Stella was. She has no qualms about screaming at the top of her lungs and throwing things in the presence of their daughter, and then Stolas is the one trying to sweep that under the rug and make it nice for her. But I mean, at the same time, we hadn't heard anything about Stella cheating on Stolas, and boy, hell, does he freely do that on her. It seems like one of those things where the marriage just went sour and both partners are committing true sins in their attempts to cope with it. But okay, now we, with the blanks filled in, we see that one we were inclined to have more sympathy towards, at least, like, the one who seemed the more pleasant of the two, even if there were caveats that could make him just as bad. It's like, okay, no, it's also a little bit of an abusive relationship, and at very least an emotionally abusive one, and in very much one direction and not the other. It was forced on him. He seemed to, want to call that what it is, where she, if anything, seems to get off on it a little bit. That, she seems to enjoy the status it affords her, and seems vindictive, controlling. So, this is basically very much the, Stolas is the victim in all of this story, and then, Stella, I mean, and, granted, I'd have to say, if anything, like a marriage falling apart and becoming toxic on both ends is probably more common, but Helluva Boss wants to tell a story about a relationship in which that was not the case, so... Okay.
Well, like I said, it was even established from the beginning that this was completely arranged, so it didn't really have a basis to start on, really.
It's also established from the beginning that she is the one that's horrible.
We see her freaking out and throwing things in episode 2. Well, and hiring someone to assassinate Stolas, so okay, that's where all sympathy for her...
Did you forget that she started?
That's where all sympathy for her goes down the tubes. But I mean, I guess the question is, like, I don't know, could, you can be the one who needs to be stopped and also have been a victim at some point. And while an arranged marriage would technically make her the victim as well, as much as Stolas, she, was, I guess, from that point on, the victimizer.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. And, like, just because she's not sympathetic wouldn't necessarily mean that Stolas 100% is, but, again, this episode is, now he is.
Oh, yeah. I do have, the one thing that makes me feel sorry, I do feel sorry for Stolas, but not just because of, his wife is a biatch. And you can just tell, I mean, if it were something like, she was good to Stolas and Stolas was just being abusive to her, okay, that's another thing. But it turns out, as you said, second, it's the other way. She's the one who's kind of drunk on power and status and hurting him. And hurting him, honestly, and it makes me think of, like, I feel bad for Stolas, but at the same time, I wish he could have, like, taken charge of his fate to be like, no, I'm not going to do this. But I guess, I don't know, I guess that's telling a story. And if you're a child, there's very little times where you think you're going to rebel. But also,
or you feel like you have the power to.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I don't think like the dad is like this super
Oh no.
powerful demon as we saw, so
Well,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think you want to
I
be
don't
on
know,
his
man.
bad side.
I agree, and I
Like,
agree probably.
have you seen what happens with Stolas when he gets angry? I don't want to imagine what happens when the dad gets angry.
Okay,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
point
like,
taken.
if your dad treats you like that, you are a victim. But yeah, I mean, like
Yes.
Jen said, I mean, there's always a true moral route on some level. It's just that sometimes not taking it is more sympathetic than others.
Right. Right, but the one thing that makes me really sympathetic to Stolitz is the fact that I keep thinking to myself, like, I hope you don't think that Blitzo actually cares about you.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. To me it just seems he doesn't. And I'm
Well,
it gets all it's I know Stolitz he's in a it turns out he's kind of love touch starved, obviously. Yeah, it's kind of love touch starved, and Blitzo was just out for himself, and he's trying to steal that grimoire. He wants the grimoire, and Stolitz is see, I don't know. I'm wondering if their relationship is that screwed up that in a way that Stolitz kind of knows what Blitz is after, and he's trying to prolong it to seem it's not true. And if that's the case, then oh my gosh, then there goes a little bit of my sympathy. Like, if you're that starved that you're willing to believe all the lies, then you really have then you just really have a problem. And then it starts getting like point like you then for me personally it's like, okay, I don't know how much sympathy I got for you left. You're just plain screwed up. But it just plays on the more the whole thing is just it's an illustration of like how screwed up is this quote relationship is. But I do feel sorry in this. I believe wholeheartedly that Blitzo does not care for Stolitz. I believe he does, and Stolitz is wanting to believe that Blitzo does, and that's what makes me feel so sorry for him.
I would disagree. Like, I would say that he like the thing I think they're establishing in Blitzo is like, well, with Stolas, he's basically love starved and just sort of like desperate for sort of any sort of connection.
Oh yeah.
Blitzo is sort of seems to be the opposite of the problem, where like he seems burned by it, probably whatever went down with his family just sort of burned him from like love and affection.
Right.
So he just doesn't trust, and he's all about himself. However, we've seen with this episode, he could have just left with the grimoire right then,
That's
but
true,
like after Stolas brought like his first friend and all that, he's like he sort of went with it, and he didn't just do it quick, like you said. He spent all night with and then later we see this where like it's sort of established that like this started out, at least for Blitzo, more as a transactional relationship, where like he's with Stolas just sort of to get access to the book and all that. It's sort of transactional. Stolas seems to somewhat understand that because he makes that negotiation in episode 1 about the book.
Right.
But as it seems to go along, especially after that, the one with the Demon Hunters episode. We're just talking about the episodes. I think it was episode 7.
I think I don't remember.
7 is what we've got for a season 1 finale until part 2 of it comes out.
All right. No, I was doing math from the pilot. Yeah, episode 6. That one, like
6,
where it has
it's a good day at the end for Blitzo, and he tells Stolas he's gonna make it up to him by, bleeping his brains out.
Okay, I thought that was kind of funny. I thought that was funny with all the bleeps on there. I was like, hold on. I was like, what?
Just try to imagine what they're saying to each other.
What?
Yeah.
I was like,
well, I mean, this show doesn't have a problem dropping F-bombs, but like I think it knows when the bleep sound is funnier. That like Stolas is.
It's stupid. I thought that was so stupid. I was kind of mad there were all this bleep sounds because I was like, hold on a minute. You had a warning at the beginning. You were talking about demons in hell, and there's also the debauchery and everything, and now you gotta bleep things out.
Well, I kind of took it as okay, Stolas is really in the mood, and he's basically doing like a dirty talking fail, where it's like.
Oh my God.
Just like he's dropping F-bombs where they do not enhance his seductive talk the way he thinks they do, and like,
That drove me nuts.
Or maybe they're they're logging it because it's so bad, so even an R rating is not.
It's so
Something
bad.
like that. Just like,
It's so bad that
Yes.
that even in okay, here we go. If it's so
Yes.
bad that even Hell's censors has to censor it,
Yes.
it's that bad.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
like,
I don't want to know what you're saying to each other. I want to bleep bleep bleep, and you bleep what?
yeah,
No.
and I mean that's good on Helluva Boss too. Just because we're doing tragic backstories doesn't mean it can't still weave comedy in at a level where it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Good on them. But okay, yeah, Stolas and Blitz, I guess, like, they do seem like they're the true tragic couple here, and obviously not Stella and Stolas, who, yeah, and when we saw the only other flashback I think we saw was episode 2, where, the daughter wakes up crying, and Blitz points that out to Stella. She says, "You get up," and I mean, that wasn't nice, but I mean, it was, cordial, for lack of a better word, enough. It was an actual parenting interaction between the two of them, so that we weren't given too much a reason to believe that that this was instantly a broken relationship. I think that's why people had the it fell apart assumption up to now, but now we've had the confirmation. Okay, no, it was always broken. So Stolas and Blitz are kind of more our tragic couple here, but yeah, just because Stolas is the sympathetic one in the victim doesn't necessarily mean that Blitz is. Blitz is more complicated here.
Right.
And I mean, it's like, yeah, we saw in the last episode that Blitz, and like, if you remember, I think how much you came off kind of tearing up for him at the end of that. Blitz is a little bit more than a victim. He's a bit of a broken guy. He's like his own worst enemy, in truth, because he has people who see him as charismatic, and or at least someone to work for, even if he annoys the heck out of Moxie sometimes. But I mean, he has friends, and he has a job that he's good at, and he has someone who loves him. And I mean, it's almost a little Raging Bull-esque. He's still so wrapped up in what he doesn't have. He's like, he wants to almost be a part of Millie and Moxie's relationship.
Yeah, because he's always like, there's one point where he's actually filming them in bed, and the song ends and everything. I remember, I love this. I love Moxie's voice. I absolutely just love Moxie's voice, for one thing. And I love it when at the end it's like, "Are you actually filming us?" The fact that I agree with you. I think he wants to be like part of, like, he either wants what they have or he wants to be a third.
Yeah, the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive from each other, but then meanwhile, like, Stolas's actual love, like, he won't let him he goes very tsundere with that. He won't let himself open up to it. He holds it at an arm's length, and it's like he does use it to take advantage of Stolas. He is kind of a toxic guy, but like at the same time, he's not like vindictive, or I mean, he's not cruel or narcissistic. He's damaged. Stolas he his plan to sneak the Grimwald out goes off perfectly, and then when Stolas says that it means a lot to him because it's his childhood, his first friend who's going to be taking him, that's where, like, Blitz does not seem completely horrible person coded. He's like he does not have
barely
horrible person armor over all of them. He's like that hits him a bit, and he like he can't bring himself to completely do a horrible person thing, even if what he says out loud is still tsundere, like, well, I guess I could do this real quick, and like so
quick was next morning.
So
Yeah,
it's like Blitz is kind of his own worst enemy here, and I mean
Right.
it's he seems like he won't let him have the things. He won't let himself have the things that he could really use and does kind of like, and the things that he assumes he should like and should be going after, he's shooting himself in the foot doing so. So it's
But
like,
at the same
Yeah.
time, like Stolitz is well, and Aaron, I think I already said I was about to repeat myself. So yeah. But one thing that's great about Stolitz is that you seem at least he's happy with his daughter. One thing I think we can glean is that he wants to be a good father to his daughter. It seems.
Mhm.
So that's
yeah,
one
like
good.
that.
That's one good thing.
Yeah, that was his redeeming factor before, and now it's like the bedrock of, I guess, why we would be on his side. Like he is never not concerned with the people who actually are the victims in this and whom he would have an obligation to care about. Like, okay, if someone, forces somebody else on you, like, it's, I mean, this is a sticky moral situation, but yeah, I'm inclined to say that, especially, like, if you did not consent to that, you, and again, the level on which he did in, like, allowing it to go through. But yeah, you're kind of the victim that, like, the whoever's who's responsible for their happiness is probably whoever forced them on you.
Right. I would think that so I think Blitzo has a bit of a conscience, but not that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's, like I said, he's at war with himself. He's not unaware of what the right thing to do is, and he's not, like, sometimes when he does it, it's like in spite of himself, but I mean, he's it's like all is not lost for him, but yeah, he is a damaged guy and a toxic guy because of it, and it's like, okay, if there is actually, like, hope for him in Stolas, or for him, period, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of demons he's got to dig up and work with.
It's funny because he's an imp.
Yeah.
It just stole it, sweetie pie. You deserve better.
Yeah, but Blitz is our main character, so I do have a feeling this is going to be about his character arc and, his self-improvement story, such as it is. Like, episode 6 was already a self-improvement story for him, and now presumably we're being confronted with his real demons, and again, but yeah, like, if so, it's not the story of, okay, Blitz and Stolas both need to fix some things if they're serious about wanting this to be good. No, it's like Blitz and Blitz need to fix some things, and Stolas maybe just needs to get real here and draw the line where it should be drawn.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. Stoltz needs some boundaries, and he just needs something better. I agree. He needs something better, and he needs to draw some boundaries.
I think he's starting to realize after that song that that's what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he threw Stella out, so we'll see how he moves forward with Blitz, but we'll also see how he moves forward with now Stella presumably going all in on her assassination plan.
Right. There is that.
Which she was.
But yeah, like I was saying before, like, I think the thing that's interesting about the relationship is essentially there are two people that are broken in opposite ways. So like I said, Stolas is love stars, but like Blitzo seems like he doesn't want to commit to any sort of relationship.
Yes.
Which is odd considering like how much he's invested in Moxie and Millie's, but it's sort of like he's not comfortable with the relationship, but he wants to sort of live a relationship vicariously through other people.
Yeah.
He's not comfortable with letting people in, and I mean, it both kind of stems from the same place, actually. Parents who just kind of used and abused them, and ruined the relationships they had at the time that were good. Like, well, Okay, no, Blitz. And actually, that might be the one thing. Blitz started out with a relationship that was good, and then ruined with his brother. No, his brother. They're both his sons. So
Oh, it was the other girl. The other girl. It was shoot. What was her name? It was that other girl. It was
Well, his clown brother Blitz.
Oh,
Like they hate each other now. We've seen so.
right. And then there was that
something
other
got ruined
girl.
there.
And then there was that other girl that he had
Oh,
something.
his ex.
The ex, yeah.
Yeah, presumably he's just been on a toxic tear ever since whatever
Right.
the ultimate fallout was with his family.
Right. And he hasn't seen, it looks like he hasn't seen a healthy relationship yet. And I think that Moxie and Millie's may be kind of an anomaly. One, I think it may be an anomaly to him. Two, I think he sort of gets off on it. So I think he's satisfying his base urges of, is like, yeah, I like to watch. So he likes to watch them. But at the same time, maybe he's like, is that what a healthy relationship was that a healthy relationship look like? But I'm more inclined to believe, nah, he's just getting his rocks off with I guess kind of watching Moxie and Millie, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about that is like, okay, people who just feel like entitled to do stuff like that, okay, they like, yeah, if usually that means like, okay, if that's just their kick on the side, then they go home to whatever their real sick and horrible thing is. Blitz doesn't seem to have a real thing. Like when he realizes that Moxie and Millie are going to spend the night somewhere that he can't gatecrash, can't spy on, and can't be a part of, then he spends the whole night obsessing about how he's going to get in there.
Like, see, and that's why I think he gets off on it. I think he gets his rocks off on it on that.
Well, on like watching them like porn, or as in like just the fact that it's a healthy relation, because what porn stuff are they going to do in a club?
Well, it's Asmodeus, and there was like something he was singing about the spirit of lust. I mean,
yeah, but he could go anywhere to hear about that. He wants to see Moxie and Millie having their relationship.
Mm-hmm. I think I want to believe it's both, but I want to believe it could be both, but I'm more inclined to believe it's just him satisfying his, it is like porn to him, honestly. That's what I'm inclined to believe about Blitz, and with and the way he is about Stolas, it's like I legit believe he doesn't care about Stolas, and that I legit believe I don't think he cares about Stolas, or that he's all about himself. I don't know, if the story shows me different, then I may reconsider, but that's my stance on it, honestly. And like I said, and I keep saying, Stolas, sweetie pie, you deserve better.
Yeah, I mean, granted, callus-based perverts are everywhere, and that is a legitimate problem, but Helluva Boss seems like it has its sights set on telling us a story about someone who's a little more difficult than that, how much sympathy in spite of it seems to extend to him, like his breakthrough crisis in the Dorks episode, his his scrolling back through pictures when he has to go home to his empty house with Luna out having a life that he's also not a part of, and then at the end of his rope by the fact that everybody's out doing things he doesn't get to be a part of, then broken down to tears by being reminded, like, oh yeah, and you used to have a good relationship with your brother too.
Right. Basically, he's alone. Basically, Blitz is alone. It's alone. He's alone and miserable, and it's partly his own fault.
Yeah, but
with that, I actually have to run. I have to go make a call, so I must say goodbye.
So long.
All right. Bye-bye.
Farewell.
All right. See ya.
Goodbye.
But I need to be. We need to be wrapping this up soon, so it's starting to get a little late.
Yeah.
But
Looks like, the Blitz debate might be for another time, but I think we all agree that he is not entirely the victim, like, unlike Stolas, who seems on some level to want to do the right thing. Blitz doesn't really seem sure what he wants.
Yeah.
But besides this, the character developments, like, talk about this episode like as a structure. I felt the pacing of this felt a little off, where I feel like the best parts of the episode were like more the second half. Like, I feel like the childhood part should have been shorter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could definitely see where you're coming from here. Like, it seems kind of a bit extended with like some of those like children scenes, like them just doing some cute stuff together, and not just condensed.
And also just like the execution, I felt could have been structured better. Like, I feel like if they would have they would have cut like if it was started with like the Stolas at the his not divorced yet party, where he had started taking the drugs and the absent, like, and they could have had that transition to his flashback to his childhood, where like he just got drunk and that's sort of like the transition, and then we transition back to where Blitzo got caught. I felt that would have worked better structurally, just having it go choreographic, having to go like in correct time order just feels sort of weird out of nowhere.
I don't know, the bookendy thing, I mean, I could see that backfiring, honestly, like let us squeeze in the explanation of what you're seeing before we get back to it.
But in general, like, that's debatable more about Chuck. But the main thing is, like, I feel like just the childhood part just took a little too long. Because like the most interesting parts really are sort of especially the last part. I felt this, and towards the end where it transitions to like, the pilot episode sort of transition, felt was like the strongest parts. But like that was just the tail end, so it was sort of like this whole episode was sort of waiting for that to happen, like waiting for something like that to happen.
Yeah, this is kind of the catching up with Stola's moment, but I mean, like, I think, I don't know, I don't know if I have a feeling on, like, okay, what this episode could have been if it wasn't this, but I mean, as a, okay, this is a good time to do the backstory because we want to tell you a little something about Stolas now that he has something to be upset about, like, I kind of thought that the present day thing was a fine denouement. It like from okay, we may as well see the backstory now to okay, now with that in mind, yeah, don't you believe that Stolas has a little something to be torn up about in light of that last episode? Which,
But yeah,
I mean, like, as far as, like, I don't know what would have been a better momentum building lead in than okay, well, how about why not the season 1 opener to tell you about their backstory? Like, may as well be now, right? I don't know what would have been stronger than that, but I mean, as far as opening up, like, okay, it's time, my reaction was kind of like, yeah, sure, why not, whatever.
but
I think it was really cute though.
Yeah, like I'm not saying this shouldn't have happened, but I just feel like it could have been framed better. Like we were talking about ranking episodes beforehand. If I was going to give this a tier, I'd say this episode's probably a C tier. Just because like the last parts are extremely strong, but like just the first half is just sort of okay and like cute, like seeing them as a kid, but also just I feel.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting in that we know now, and it's interesting in that it makes the final part stronger. But yeah, I guess if I was gonna say something about that, like the transition from okay, ambiguous, but we're tentatively sympathetic to Stolas versus now where it's okay, we have nothing but sympathy for Stolas and none for his wife. That's kind of I feel like they sacrifice some potential complexity there for convenience. I mean, like, if Stolas had, like, I don't know, I could have lived with, like, okay, it was an arranged marriage, but, like, they were both still trying in the beginning and then it fell apart. Like, that would probably have been a little more realistic, and then, like, Stolas having to grasp with his demons, like, okay, I did something wrong there, but I mean, now we can tell the story about how we're going to try to make it right. But yeah, versus, like, that's, I mean, now it's just it's a more somewhat conveniently simple story of, or at least him and Stella, that's a heroes and villains story. Him and Blitz is still complicated, but, yes, Stella, I don't know, she comes across more like, a little bit more like a caricature now, a little bit more of a prop. Although the fact that she's pretty much, already threw all sympathy out the window by trying to hire an assassin to kill Stolas, that's like, I mean, I can at least understand why they don't want to have too many complex relationship talks where that's concerned.
All right, but
Anyway, yeah,
I
point
guess
being, I guess it's not I will at least agree that the flashback isn't the most compellingly complex drama where he and Stella are concerned.
but yeah, I guess any other closing thoughts in this episode before we head out?
Glad I saw it. Probably say at least a B. B tier.
They still there or?
She is. I don't know. Do you have thoughts?
Well, as I said, I enjoyed the childhood part. I thought they were cute and made good sense with like the explanation of how they ended up together and stuff like that. I like that later on, or a little later, we see the dad. He's amazing. What more was there? Like the game that did it with like from stuff out of the window so they could get all of the jewelry. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Also, song amazing as always. He has a good voice. Um, I don't like the wife that much, but yeah, it says itself. um, what more? Um, I think like there's potential for Blitz to become better at the relationship, but I also think like Stollers is now thinking more about it. So here's to hoping that he can either, like, as Second said, like make some boundaries or say what he wants, or like get somebody that actually loves him if Blitz doesn't come to that conclusion. Because we did see in the other episode that Blitz actually went to they went out eating together, and then his brother performed with that other guy, and it seemed like they were doing fine. So yeah, I don't know.
All right, Carlos, you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Final thoughts in this episode?
I feel like this episode, while it provides interesting insight into a long-standing relationship this has been, instead of it being like a spur one-night stand that I assumed this was. I guess overall, just feeling like this could be like a turning point for like not just Stella's, but for like Blitz in terms of like whether or not if he takes the moral path or just goes for the more honestly more dirtier path of like possibly backstabbing Stolas if it comes to it, and then later regretting his decision. I feel like it could go either way with like what everything else is set up. You know? I just feel like it's a good episode, but not great. It's not like to the series' great episodes, but it's a nice little look back.
Here's to that.
All right, and I guess for me, like I said, I feel this is a C tier episode where it's like not bad, not great. I feel it's an important episode, but I feel like it wasn't as snappily written as like transitionary wise. As like because the series, like I said, the series has such a high bar, in my opinion.
The decent storytelling, good drama, very good point as it came around. I mean, yeah, I still say that Cherubs is my only below par episode.
All right, I guess with that said, see y'all next time for when we most
Disagree
likely be the
even
ranking
more.
of season 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care.
See y'all.